robbed.
Get me robbed.
So Big L tried to get you robbed. How did that go? How did that work? Or why do you even think that happened?
Every time I went to Harlem to see Big L that he was gonna fight, Vito, he was fighting that. I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Before the platinum plaques and the shiny suits, MaSe and Cameron were just two Harlem kids with dreams and one mistake. They underestimated Big L.
Wildin', man. Wildin', man. Big L, man. Y'all is wild. Yo, Jay, man. That Jay need to get that up to Big L anytime he.
And Big L, he didn't just prove he was real, he made it personal. MaSe got lined up and robbed.
He told us who did it. He told, it got back to the city that the guys that did it, it was like, yo, Big L did that.
With Fat Joe holding the bait.
L was talking to him, but he was looking at me like he couldn't believe that. He was like, word. Like, real crack, like.
Cameron's brush with death came fast in a wild shootout with Big L's own brother.
After Big L tried to kill him, what was he to do? Please don't get in your feelings.
Nobody was safe. Not in Harlem. Not around Big L. This is the story of fear, power, and the day two future stars learned the hard way that Big L didn't play industry games, ever.
He was a big gambler. You know, Big L would gamble all the time, and, you know, he would fight like big. I'd be like, yo, L, could we just go shoot the block up?
Let's talk about it. In the early 90s, Harlem was its own planet. Fast talkers, faster hustlers, and a whole lot of illusions. Money moved quick, stories moved quicker, and if you didn't know how to carry yourself, you'd get moved on. In the middle of that chaos, two young cats were just getting their names off the block, Cameron and MaSe. Back then, they were just Cam and Murda, ball players first. They went to Manhattan Center High, ran point, and played hard. Real chemistry on the court. Their squad even made it to the NYC finals one year, coming in second. That was a big deal in Harlem.
Yeah, that's me. Behind the back, chill, Corey, right now. I ain't going that way. Lose it, get it back, and one. Tough.
But basketball dreams don't last long when your grades don't line up, and Harlem had other temptations. Rap was becoming the next hustle. Street corners turned into ciphers, and kids who once played ball now passed around rhyme books. Cam and MaSe were in that mix, chasing bars and chasing a way out. Harlem gave them confidence, not the fake kind either. Real swagger, the type that comes from surviving crowded hallways, broken elevators, and dudes testing your pride before school even started. That's when they met Big L. At first, it didn't seem like much, just another local name with a little buzz. But Big L was different, quieter, sharper.
Big L, shout out to Big L, Children of the Corn, Harlem. I mean, just hip hop, you know, is the epitome of hip hop. You can go to Harlem 139 and see him right in front of the fried chicken store.
Everyone knew he could spit, but Cam and MaSe didn't realize just how real he was until they did. See, Cam and MaSe were part of a crew with Big L called Children of the Corn, along with Bloodshed and McGruff. Dame Dash even tried to manage them for a bit before he built up Rockefeller. And for a minute, it looked like they were all gonna come up together.
Before we got on, it was like L.
Yeah.
You know, he was a guy, he took us everywhere.
Yep.
And all of that. Not everywhere, but to Bobito and different places to rap.
But Harlem don't hand out happy endings. Big L had already built his own name off battle raps and street tapes. By the time Cam and MaSe were catching up, L had already dropped Devil's Son, and it hit different.
When I was 12, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus. When I was 12, I went to hell.
It wasn't just bars. There was something darker behind it. The streets started whispering that L wasn't just a rapper. He had real weight behind him. At first, Cam and MaSe thought L was just a lyrical monster, just another MC to keep up with. Then things got tense. MaSe started buzzing on his own. His sister linked him with a guy named Cutta Love, who brought him down to Atlanta to meet Diddy. That meeting changed everything. Diddy gave MaSe a $250,000 deal on the spot. Just like that, Murda MaSe was gone, replaced by a shiny suited hitmaker working with Biggie and Bad Boy. But Harlem didn't love that switch up, especially not Big L. Harlem cats say MaSe started moving different. Less in the mix, more industry. And with that change came tension. It wasn't just that Mai got rich, it was the way he got rich. And more importantly, what he stopped doing once he did. Word got back to Big L that MaSe was moving like he didn't owe anyone anything. No more showing love on the block, no more pulling up to the studio, no more calls. And when MaSe did come around, it was with that bad boy polish. Shades on, jewelry heavy, Puff's energy on Harlem time.
It was like once he blew, he forgot where he came from.
Yeah, so you gotta figure MaSe wasn't a hustler coming up. He didn't know how to get to no money.
There were even stories floating around that MaSe was talking greasy behind L's back, that he thought L was stuck, bitter, or jealous, that he didn't rate L's street rep, or felt like he was smarter, better connected. None of that ever got confirmed publicly, but Harlem's small. You don't need to hear it directly to feel it, and that didn't sit well with L. At all. You gotta understand, L was a street guy. He wasn't trying to be flashy for Instagram. He was Harlem for real. People like Fat Joe, Cam, McGruff, they'll all tell you, L had a reputation that wasn't about rapping, it was about respect. And once MaSe started acting like he didn't need to show any, things went left. It started like nothing out of the ordinary. L called MaSe, told him to pull up to a studio. That wasn't unusual back then. Dudes invited each other to sessions all the time. Rap was still communal, especially uptown. But MaSe walked in thinking he was going to rap. He didn't know the whole thing was bait. What he walked into was something else entirely. He never said what happened inside the studio that day, but the energy changed after that. Not long after, another strange situation popped off, and this time it had a familiar name attached to it. Fat Joe.
Joe on me. He went and got some Bronx because he couldn't find nobody.
And this is before you got on, or when right on the cusp? Or
This was like when I first got on.
Now back then, Fat Joe wasn't just a big rapper from the Bronx. He had ties, street credibility, industry respect, and more importantly, he was part of the Diggin' in the Crates crew. Same as Big L.
Big L and Fat Joe was kind of in a clique together. Lord Finesse and Buck Wilder digging in the crates. So
yeah,
it may have been something alluding to that.
Yeah.
Just for the
So when May heard that Joe wanted to link up, it didn't feel random, but it also didn't feel off. At the time, May was coming up, crossing over. Joe was a big deal, so a call from him felt like another step toward the next level. Except it wasn't. The story goes like this. L and Mod High had already bumped heads over a bunch of things. Lyrics, style, maybe even women. Machi mentioned in an interview that L started copying his syllables, his style, and that when he confronted L about it, things went left. Gruff was laughing, he said, like y'all need to box.
He started using a few of my lyrics, like different compounds that I was using. That's when you make two words rap at the same time. So I checked
not just words, syllables.
Yeah, syllables. He started using my syllables. I'm like, yo, L. So then Gruff laughing and all that. Gruff like, yeah.
It wasn't rap beef in the traditional sense. It was personal. Matsi had the momentum. L had the resentment. And when it got so serious that L couldn't reach Matse directly, he started using people around him, Fat Joe being one of them. According to Fat Joe, it came to a head that night in the tunnel. Just the night before, he'd been in the studio with MaSe and Cam, laughing, kicking it like old times.
We was laughing, telling jokes all night, popping It was just the best time, right? And the next day, I'm in the tunnel, right? So I'm in the tunnel, you know how we are, Jim. I'm in there 20, 30 deep, whatever. So L come over to me.
Next night, Big L pulls him aside. Yo, Crack, I need you. Joe figures they're about to press somebody random, but nah, L walks him straight to Meichi, starts barking on him, right there in public. No hesitation. When Made saw Joe coming toward him, he didn't realize what it was about. But the way Made tells it later on, it sounded like even Joe knew he was being used.
Joe come up to me, I'm looking like, and then Joe see me and Joe's like, and I ain't doing nothing to that. That's MaSe, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's something y'all got going on. So
that's first, but hold on.
That was the first time.
That's what made it even more unsettling. L was playing chess, not checkers. He wasn't just running up on Mati himself anymore. He was pulling in outside names. Bronx names, big ones. And whether Joe was in on it fully or not didn't even matter. The psychological part of it did. Because if someone like Joe shows up, you gotta start wondering who else did L tap? Joe himself said he felt like a traitor. He'd just been vibing with May, and now L was pressing him.
And I felt like the biggest backstabber hypocrite in the world. I was hanging out with MaSe the night before, and I'm sitting there like this, but you know, L the bloodline, digging in the crates. He blood. Man, I remember MaSe looked at me. Yeah, he never trusted.
But that's how deep it was for L. It wasn't about rap, it was about principle. L saw Mai as someone who forgot where he came from. And worse, someone who wasn't really who he said he was. Mai wasn't really hustling, Joe explained. He wasn't in the streets like that. We kept him fresh. We made sure he looked the part, but he wasn't touching no packs. And when Mai blew up, instead of acknowledging that foundation, he flipped it. Moved like he did it all himself. That rubbed Harlem wrong, especially the ones who had helped put him on.
When you rap about certain shit, but we knew you in the hood before you popped off, and we know you ain't about them lyrics. And so that's where people start trying these guys. When you start hearing about rappers getting tried and all that, it's because they're like, yo, bro, you wasn't about that. Like, and now—
In Harlem, reputation is everything. And Big L had a way of making people think twice without pulling a trigger. But later, he came near to doing just that. One evening, Ma was walking with Shamgod down 40th Street in Harlem, rocking his first Rolex. It wasn't just a flex. That watch symbolized a rival. His face was on t-shirts. Kids were screaming his name. Ice cream trucks were giving out free cones in his honor.
You know, we just paid for the truck, all the kids getting free ice cream on 139th. They all got on MaSe Day t-shirts, you know. So
he was that dude in Harlem, and apparently L didn't like that. So him and Sham were just walking, cooling. They turned a corner, and a Spanish dude jumped out of nowhere with a gun. Give it up, or I'ma kill both of y'all.
Spanish just run out of nowhere like, yo, give it up, I'ma kill both of y'all.
He wore no mask and did not hesitate. He wanted the watch. That was it. At first, Mai thought it was a joke. Him and Sham were ball players. They had a history of playing around. They made eye contact like, you serious? But once the guy cocked the gun, it got real fast. MaSe played it smart. He knew this wasn't a fight they could win. So he started slowly taking the watch off, trying to buy time. Tossed it toward the back of a nearby car, hoping it'd bounce somewhere the guy wouldn't see. Before the guy could grab it, the cops came from the side, snatched him up before he even touched the pavement.
So then I take the watch off. I'm like, this nigga then got caught. That's what I'm really thinking. This nigga got caught. So then I throw the watch by the back of the car wheel, because I knew it was gonna bounce off. Pause. And when the watch fell, we just ran. But by the time we ran, the cops came from the left side.
But that was just part of the story. Later, word started spreading inside Rikers about what happened. The dude who got locked up told people who sent him, said it was Big L. That wasn't rumor. That came straight from the mouth of the guy who tried to rob him. He got beat up so bad inside, he ended up giving it up. Said L was behind it.
They beat the nigga so bad, he told us who did it. He told, it got back to the city that the guys that did it, it was like, yo, Big L did that.
That's when it hit MaSe. L wasn't just mad. He wanted him humiliated. The setup, the gun, the robbery. It wasn't about the Rolex. It was about power, a warning shot. You got on, but don't forget who you came up under. And the wildest part? May didn't retaliate, not publicly, not in music, not in the streets. That silence said everything. People around Harlem knew what time it was. MaSe may have had the hits, the deals, the tours, but L still held something more important uptown: fear. Even after the attempted robbery, MaSe left the watch sitting at the precinct for weeks. Cops said, come get it. just give us a statement. He said no. He'd rather lose the Rolex than say a word.
It was like, we gonna need a statement. MaSe, I ain't making no statement.
I ain't making no statement. Yeah, I left the watch down there for a couple of months because they was like, yo, we need a statement. I said, bro, I can't get it.
The next time people saw L, he wasn't even on the same side of the block anymore. He kept his distance. He knew MaSe knew, and MaSe knew he wasn't going to press it further. You could feel the coldness in the air, and MaSe said he couldn't trust anyone after that. Not even Fat Joe. He never trusted me again in his life, Joe admitted. He looked at me like, word? It's the kind of story where there's no clear villain. L was holding on to what Harlem used to be. MaSe was chasing what Harlem could be. But in the process, both felt betrayed. In Harlem, that's how lines get drawn sometimes. Not by who raps better, but by who's really willing to go there. And Big L? He already had. To this day, MaSe has never put L in his top 5 Harlem rappers. Not out of disrespect, but because for him, the wound of betrayal never fully closed. Now, after the robbery went down and the Fat Joe thing had passed, MaSe had already pulled back. He understood what kind of energy Big L operated on, but Cam was still Cam. Loud, flashy, unapologetic. He didn't scare easy. Until one day, he got a wake-up call that changed how he moved, especially when it came to anything tied to Big L. It was 2002, right around the time Oh Boy was ringing off. Cam was back in Harlem shooting the video. Dipset was rising. The city was watching. He had the crew out, the girls, the cars, all of it. It was a celebration of where they came from, but not everybody saw it that way. That day, somebody showed up who hadn't been seen around in a minute. Big Lee, not Big L, who had already been gone a few years. This was his older brother, the one people in Harlem said you didn't cross. Not loud, not famous, but feared. He had heavy hands in the street. Cam was doing his thing when Lee pulled up. Didn't make a scene, just walked up like he belonged there. That's how people like him moved. And when he walked up to Cam, it wasn't small talk. According to Cam, Lee tried to press him, real casual at first, then a little more firm. The message was simple. This your hood, yeah, but don't forget who really runs this. Lee wasn't asking for respect. He was demanding it, and depending on how Cam responded, things could go left fast. Cam said it himself later on. Lee tried to extort him.
Tell you how Big Lee tried to extort me. His brother tried to extort me. I got a whole song about it, actually. I was gonna save it for the freestyle.
But he didn't back down. Neither did he blow it up. He had his people with him. Dipset wasn't small, but this wasn't about numbers. This was about weight, reputation, and Big Lee had that. Cam didn't try to play tough. He just stood his ground. They exchanged words. Tension shot up fast. Lee sparked something, and Cam had no choice but to get serious. Guns were around. Not drawn, but ready. That's the part Cam talked about later, how close it came to being a shootout. He had to pull his people aside, cool everything down. Said it in a freestyle years later, "We almost had a shootout." No exaggeration, they really almost did. That video set, that day, nearly became something else. Something ugly and permanent. And just like that, it ended. Nobody got shot. Nobody got touched. But something changed for Cam. After that, Cam never dissed Big L. Never threw slick shots. Never joked about it in interviews. Even when he talked about the incident later, he didn't speak wild. He stuck to the facts. That silence wasn't fear. It was respect. He understood what L's name meant. Even after death, even through someone else, his name still carried real weight. It wasn't about rap at that point. It wasn't about who was more famous or who had more spins on Hot 97. It was about presence. L had it. His brother had it. And Cam? He learned that day to respect it. But way before Cam understood this, plenty of other rappers knew without it ever needing to be said.
You know, that's another nigga, man. Don't, yo, what? Man, this is wildin', man. This is wildin', man. Big L, man.
There were stories floating through Harlem about dudes from other boroughs coming through thinking they were good, and then disappearing from the block real quiet. Not killed, not jumped, just humbled. Chain gone, ego deflated, and a silent message passed. One of those stories is when a junior MAFIA affiliate walked into a Chinese restaurant uptown and left without his chain. It wasn't even L who took it. It was one of his crew, a dude named Reg, someone tight with Big Lee. No yelling, no mess. A body shot, a gun drawn, and the chain was gone. Rumor is the chain may have originally belonged to Biggie, and L wore it a few times himself. Whether that's true or not, it didn't matter. The point was, people knew not to ask for it back. This was normal for L's circle. Quiet violence, no fronting. And that's what made L different from a lot of rappers. He never bragged about the street side. He wasn't messy with it. He didn't move with 30 people trying to make a scene. But if something needed to be done, it got done. No delay. Even his own crew had to stay sharp. According to Fat Joe, L would fight anybody. No hesitation. Joe said L would look at the biggest guy on the block and say, "That one, him, let's go." No bat, no backup, just fists. Every time Joe went to Harlem, he knew L was ready to fight somebody, just because.
You know, he would fight like big. I'd be like, yo, L, could we just go shoot the block up? He'd be like, nah, I grew up with these. Just come stand by me, I'ma fight. Every time I went to Harlem to see Big L that he was gonna fight, he thought he was fighting your size, like the biggest in the world. He's like this.
And it wasn't out of anger. It was just principle. If you crossed a line, you had to be corrected. The other legends respected it. Fat Joe, Diamond D, Lord Finesse, DITC vets knew L wasn't just the punchline king. He was someone you had to take seriously. Joe once joked that when they did The Enemy, L told him straight up, "I'm gonna kill you on this track." Not lyrically, but with that same competitive edge that made him dangerous in any lane. He could out-rap you, out-think you, or if needed, out-fight you. That duality was rare, because that's what it really was with L. Duality. He could be in the cypher making everybody laugh with slick wordplay, and the same night, be fighting someone twice his size in front of his building. He could be in the studio recording a classic, and later, wearing a chain that had a story behind it nobody wanted to talk about. People feared Big L not because he was loud, but because he was never loud. He didn't need to make threats. You just knew. That's what made him dangerous. And even now, years after his death, that feeling hasn't gone anywhere.